Hi, Kay here, and I am catching up on my October daily pages and came across this spread where I had not even started them. And so I thought that I would take you through the whole process, start to finish, of working on daily pages. So I have already gathered up a few things that I want to put on there, like some dates and some photographs I have printed out that have to do with the days. And so I have done a slight bit of preliminary work. I've also cut out, even though I'm doing a rare kind of real-time thing, usually I give you a speed up version, and I am not this time. However, I have cut out some sections that were like I didn't show all of my writing or things that I thought were maybe kind of boring. So I have cut out some time. I probably spent about an hour on the page total, or this spread total, and obviously the video is not quite that long, so I have shortened it up a bit, but I think it still gives a pretty good representative of how, the time I spend on making these pages. I'm also doing a voiceover as I can't seem to talk and work at the same time, so just it is what it is. So now I am gluing down a photo that I printed out that I took of one of my sketchbook pages, because in the month of October I challenged myself to do a tree or something related to a tree each day of October in my sketchbook. And so this day was a day I did a bonsai tree, and I was pretty happy with it, so I just kind of made note of my bonsai tree. Also had tacos that day. I just cut out this taco from the packaging of the taco shells and am including it in there, which, gave me a little bit of challenge. The 18 is from some dates that were included for my patrons. And the little Tuesday at the top is by Pocket Journal Pam, which I will use a few other of her printables as well on this spread. There are some other artists I use, but I believe in this spread they are all either my own printables or those of Pocket Journal Pam. I'm using Mako brand, M-A-C-O brand, transparent label sticker paper. I first learned about that. Well, I used some other transparent sticker papers, but this particular brand I learned about from the Caffeinated Creative on YouTube. I do really enjoy it. It makes a sharp, clear image. It's fairly thin, so it doesn't add a lot of bulk to the page. And is also nice and matte, so that it doesn't have a glare. So I like all of those features. I'm grabbing a little bit of Scotch tape here to stick this taco shell in. I want to have it kind of tip out of the way, tip in, so that I can have a little more journaling space on the page, so I can lift it up and have space to write on the other side or on the page behind it. I'm using a little bit more tape on the back side just to kind of secure it. I don't worry too much about how archival these books are. They are mostly for me in the here and now. They give me a chance to kind of relive each of the days, and the older I get, the more precious that time seems. And it's just kind of a way to relive the day, reframe the things that happened, see the points of gratitude, and just really appreciate even the little mundane parts of the day, like having tacos. Maybe nothing big happened, but there's still lots to appreciate in each day. And journaling really helps me to do that. I'm pulling out a little book of letter stickers, and I unfortunately cannot remember where I got this. I don't remember if it was, like at a Walmart or Amazon or whatever. I've had it for a little while. I don't use it super often, but I have started using it a little bit more lately. it's just an easy way to make a headline. I honestly feel like I prefer writing my own headlines though, so I don't necessarily recommend this purchase, but I do have it, so I'm going to try to use it now and then. So I'm at the end of my time I had available on this day, so we're transitioning now to the next day when I pick it up and am continuing on. As you can see, I have a printable laid out on the Wednesday side on the 19th, and I do stick it down, but then realized later I had the wrong day, and so I actually peeled it back up. I also tried to do some writing on the back side of that little taco tip-in, and quickly realized that that pen wasn't working well. I tried to use another pen then and did some writing on there. The ink in this fountain pen is by Kakamori, and it usually is pretty good about drawing fairly permanent, but as you can see later, it never really dried. It's kind of, this was kind of a slick backside of this packaging, obviously not made for writing on. You know, sometimes you can get away with it, and this time I could not. So I tried writing on there. It never did really dry or sat on that surface. So you'll see later that I have to deal with that, as well as dealing, you can see kind of the torn area on that page on the right. And this is pretty typical of how my journaling sessions go. Not everything goes quite the way I intended it. So now I'm trying to figure out, do I want to stick some paper on top of that torn area? What do I want to do? Because I feel like it maybe needs a little bit of reinforcing. Because it's torn like a layer of the paper off, so it's not actually a hole, but the paper is thinner in that area. And I've done this many times, and it always works out just fine, so I'm not worried about it. But I do kind of try to reinforce those areas when that happens. So I end up deciding on a kind of a block sticker to stick on there, and then with this cute little image by Pocket Journal Pam will go on top. These shape stickers I did get from Walmart. They are pretty handy. My only complaint about them is the surface is a little bit glossy, so they're kind of hard to journal on top of, which is what I really wanted to be able to do with them. But I decide on this yellow block, and it will serve the purpose well to kind of reinforce that paper where I tore the page a bit, and it will kind of be like a little background block for this cute figure. Now, because the figure is going to overlap both the white page and the yellow block, I decide I want to stick it on some paper. I have this bit of Tomoe River paper here that I'm going to stick it onto and then cut it out and glue it on, because as I mentioned, I've printed this on transparent sticker paper. Most of the time I like that. Once in a while in a situation like this, I actually don't want it transparent. I don't always know that ahead of time when I'm printing these out. So once in a while I do have to go ahead and stick the image onto, some backing paper, and then go from there. So, it is seem a little impractical from time to time in situations like this, but it works fine, and it's only occasionally that I need to do that. So here he is with these paper backing, and I'm just use a glue stick to glue him down. I do decide to trim off the arm because I want him to, sit a little closer to the edge of the page, partly because that's where I need him to cover up the torn paper underneath, and partly because I want to leave myself plenty of room for journaling. I'm a big fan of using printables, collage sheets by artists. Of course, I love using my own, but I also really like not only the really cute things that artists come up with and the unique things that you can include in your journal that way, but just feeling like I'm supporting other artists who are, trying to live a creative lifestyle, and also they are definitely the best bargain as far as printables, to think about things that you can print over and over and use over and over if you wish. I'm using just a plain old Elmer's school glue stick. Goes on purple and then it turns clear, but these are super inexpensive. I buy them by the case because I go through a lot of them, but they're cheap enough. I don't, worry too much about how much I use of them. So for this type of project, I get what you can afford, I guess is what I'm saying. There's no need to have super expensive supplies to use. I'm pulling out my Signo Uniball 207 ballpoint pen here because it writes very well on different surfaces, and this yellow sticker I stuck back here is, as I said before, a little bit glossy, and so this pen really comes through and does a good job of writing on top of that. So I'm going to put my little headline on this block. When I write little headings like this, I like to mix lettering styles just because I feel like it kind of makes things stand out a little bit. So in this case, I've mixed some just block lettering and kind of like a freestyle block lettering, I guess, with a kind of faux calligraphy look. So I feel like that kind of makes different words stand out when you have that little bit of variety. I'm using this little shape sticker again to add a little reinforcement to the page. I also think it really highlights whatever it is you write in there. So like I have just like a little standalone event or thought or statement, that I can put in one of these shapes, and it makes it kind of stand out and not just be lost on the page among all the other words. I'm also using a label or a portion of one to kind of finish out. Same concept, a different thought, a separate subject, just to kind of make another little journal block. I'm taking a little scrap of that leftover label paper and sticking it on kind of a last remaining little thin area here. Now I'm just making note that I did laundry this day, and that's not a very remarkable thing, and most of us are doing laundry all the time, it seems like, but it is those little mundane things that really make up my days. And if I'm going to value my day, then I need to value all those little details, all those little daily tasks and mundane things that happen in a day too, because they are also part of the treasure. If we're going to treasure our day, we have to treasure those things too. And what a privilege it is to have laundry be so easy. I don't have to go down to a stream or beat it on a rock, or I could just toss it in a machine and turn it on and go about my way and come back to clean clothes. And I don't want to miss being grateful for those little luxuries like that, or those little things that are so easy for me to take for granted, that not everyone in all parts of the world has it as easy as I do. Now I'm going back to those smeary letters on the back of my tip-in and figuring out what to do about that. I decided to use a combination of some of that label paper that I had and some washi tape to just cover up what I've written. And then, so it won't smear anymore or get on anything else. And then I can move on from there. I add another little journaling block on there, and then I can also add a little sticker on top, and it might not look perfectly like I intended it, or but I'm not worried about that. I just want it to end up communicating what I want it to without being messy and smeary. I hunted up a little sticker. I have these little tiny stickers which are handy. I kind of go in and out of using them. They're handy in like the planner section, where I want something tiny, but they're also nice little space fillers on these daily pages. So I was happy to find one of those that worked on that. And now I've pulled out my Posca paint pen. As you can see, I'm kind of going back and forth on which day I'm working on. But now I'm pulling out a Posca paint pen because I'm back to this kind of glossy sticker paper. I can't watercolor on it. My markers won't work on it, but these Posca paint pens will. And so I'm coloring in the lettering that I did with a orange Posca paint pen. from one of my own printable sheets. It was from a November collage sheet that has a little journals, scrapbook, whatever image on there. So I did some journaling on this day, so that seemed like the perfect little touch to add on there. I kind of want to unify these two pages a little bit into, one spread coat that's more cohesive. I use my fountain pen again with that Kakamori ink in there, and it's kind of a teal color. And once it's dry, it is reasonably waterproof, but if I catch it soon enough, I can kind of wash it out a little bit. So that's kind of the effect I'm going for, a little more subtle than, say, using watercolor or marker on here. So I'm just going around and bordering both pages, and the border's interrupted by the images and the words. So I'm just adding it in where there's space for it. And I really like that look. I feel like it kind of contains and finishes off a page, and gives it some, I guess, definition. So now I'm just taking a wet paintbrush with just clear water and running it lightly over that ink. Like I said, it's still a little wet. It's not fully set yet. And so as you can see, it just bleeds out just softly, just a little bit. So it's kind of a subtle border around the page, but it makes the whole spread looks like it goes together. And another thing I do to help these two spreads kind of combine as one is add those same yellow dots that I put on the right side on the left as well. So that really, if there's some color or symbol or marks that you can carry across the pages, that can really help unify the spread. And it's not necessarily, these are two separate days, so it's okay if they look different, but I do really like the look of a spread as a whole, because you're seeing both days at once when they're, facing pages. And so it's just aesthetically pleasing to me to at least sometimes make those combine. I have that little gap under the flap that I just decided to run some of that yellow paint along there too, and it'll take it a bit to dry there. But that wraps up these pages, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.